Hello, welcome to Jason the Old Millennial. My name is Jason, speaking to you here in my basement in the great state of Kansas. And today I'm continuing my series on my 100 favorite albums of all time. I'm now at number 9, so I'm in my top 10 favorite albums. Last time I did Pet Sounds, number 10. This, number 9, is a newer album on my list. I feel like one of the more newer albums in my top 100, and that is John Mayer's Room for Squares album, his debut album. Came back in 2001. Anyway, yeah, absolutely fantastic album. Really happy to talk about it and hope give some people, a recommendation that you might not have, if you're not familiar with John Mayer. I mean, I love his music, and this is definitely my favorite album of his, and one of the greatest albums, maybe the best album of the 2000s, in fact. And so if you're not into John Mayer, man, give him a chance. I hope this review gets people to maybe go back and listen to this album again anyways. But yeah, that's some of my thoughts here, and I'll get more into it here on Jason the Old Millennial. Hello everybody, hope everybody's doing well here on a Tuesday night, getting kind of late Tuesday. Yeah, I wanted to do another video here. Trying to get through my top 100 favorite albums, which I've done for probably at least 2 years now. I've been on this series. It took me a long time because I'm doing one album per video and trying to go as much in detail as I can of why I love these albums so much. Obviously, I'm at number 9, and so these albums are just absolutely some of the greatest albums of all time. In my opinion, they're all 10 out of 10 albums. These albums are like albums where every song is great. Like you get through every song, even the deep cuts are like, oh my God, this is a great song that, no one's, really knows that's not radio hits. And most of my albums are also going to be, I'm definitely big on the 60s and 70s. So you're going to hear a lot of 60s and 70s albums on my list, especially here in top 10. There's definitely mostly 60s and 70s albums. But there are some more newer, I would say. This is still like over 20 years old. So, I mean, this isn't like real new. I mean, this came out when I was, I think I was a senior in high school at this point, junior or senior, or either ending my junior year or starting my senior in high school. So that was definitely a big period of music for me where I was listening to the current music at the time. I was really into that late 90s into the 2000s was definitely a big period for me where I was listening to a lot of the music. And yeah, I remember this coming out. This is the first album for John Mayer, Room for Squares. Yeah, and I love this album. The design here, it's got the periodic table in there. Really cool design there. Young John Mayer, like, man, it's funny seeing just such a young John Mayer. But yeah, I remember at this time, I think my first time seeing anything about John Mayer was the song No Such Thing was his first like big hit off the album. And I only knew that because at the time when the way I mean, I listened to the radio, but another way I experienced new music was VH1. I used to love watching the VH1 channel, which was, it's a little like MTV, I guess. I don't know what it's, they play a lot of music videos on there, but they do a lot of, countdowns and it feels like every morning, something like that, before I went to school, a lot of times I would watch VH1 because they would do like a countdown of like, I forget, it was like top 10, top 20 music videos for that week or something like that, and they would do this like, again, for the 4th week in a row, and number 1, is this or whatever, And so they kind of keep this chart of like, these albums and so they're newer songs that are out. And so that was a way for me to kind of keep track of newer stuff that was going out. And so I learned a lot from that channel, to be honest, because MTV was like the first big like music channel, but then they stopped playing music and they were just doing documentaries or reality shows. And VH1 really took I didn't watch MTV, I watched VH1 because they did a lot of great music videos and they did a lot of good shows talking about music. That was great anyways. And yeah, so I remember watching it, and this No Such Thing video came on from John Mayer, who I never heard of John Mayer. He was brand new to all of us at the time. And I remember seeing this video and thinking, wow, this is such a fun, catchy pop song. Like it was, yeah, it was like really took you by storm. It took everybody by storm. I feel like 'cause this came out and it was like, who is this John Mayer? This is fantastic. Like I want more John Mayer. And I remember even talking to my friends about it, like, man, you heard this John Mayer? Like this is great, you know. And so we all kind of got on John Mayer at the same time. Anyways, and I didn't get this album actually at all when I was younger. When I was in high school, I just knew the big hits off of, like I said, off of the like I said, I only knew probably a couple songs actually off the album that was on VH1 or something, you know. And there was a couple pretty good hits off there. Anyways, they played quite a bit. So No Such Thing seems to be the one that they played quite a lot. It's a huge hit for him. Anyways, so that was my first introduction to John Mayer. And it's funny, the next year or so, I was in college, my freshman year in college, and I had a roommate who was big on music as well. And he played guitar, and I played guitar, and but he was a much better musician than I was. Anyways, and and I didn't really have a lot of CDs at the time. I collected, you know, just I didn't buy a lot of CDs, but I had some CDs. Of course, I brought with me to college. You know, I'd listen to, had my CD, you know, player, headphones, you know, and I would do my homework, listening to music, whatever. And my roommate though had like a big, you know, one of those things where you had the CDs in the slots, you know, and he had that thing and you turn it over and it was just full of CDs. He had a really good CD collection that was easy to, you know, carry around. And so he would let me borrow a CD and listen to it. And so I actually discovered some other music just looking at what he had and just saying, oh, I'll try this out and then try this out. And he had, and he was a big John Mayer fan. In fact, he told me that he was, and his name was Andrew McCarthy, something like that, McCarty. It was something like that. It was Andrew anyway, his name was. And I never knew him until I went to college, and he became my roommate. That's the first time I met him. But he told me like he was a fan of John Mayer before anybody knew who he was. I guess he was kind of known, and you know, there's people that are like, I guess, super music nerds that like know like there's the underground, you know, music scene, you know, people that haven't been, you know, signed on yet that are making a splash in the underground or something. I don't know. And I think he put out maybe some singles. And I said, iTunes was, you know, still fairly new at this point. I think iTunes was the big thing. And I did a lot of iTunes. That's why I didn't have a lot of CDs. Actually, the CDs I did have were CDs I burnt off of iTunes. I'd buy songs off iTunes and then burn them on a CD. So I make my own, you know, CDs, basically make my own greatest hits albums. And back then it was like only 99 cents too, which was nice. But anyways, so he had all these albums, and I remember seeing John Mayer's Room for Squares, and I go, oh yeah, I really like John Mayer, you know. And he told me, oh yeah, I was a big fan of his before he got this album, and you know, and he had maybe some EPs out or whatever. I don't know what you call them. I say EPs. These sometimes people put out, you know, their own albums, but they're only like 4 or 5 songs long. And I think he had some live stuff available before this album. I don't know. So he knew him and was like a big fan. I was like, wow, this guy, yeah, I think he's absolutely fantastic and all this. And so, oh, okay, yeah, I really love to listen to more John Mayer anyways. And so I listened to this album, I remember, in my freshman year in college, and it was like, wow, this album is magnificent. Like, I thought this was an absolutely fantastic album from beginning to end. There's so many incredible songs here. Yeah, I definitely became a big fan of John Mayer at that point, and, you know, wanted to listen to more of his stuff. And of course, he would go on to make many more hit albums and songs on the radio. But to me, this is definitely by far his best album that I've heard. I've heard most of his albums. I had Continuum earlier on my list of top 100 favorite albums. Those are the only 2 albums that made it onto my 100 favorite albums. Continuum, and then now this, Room for Squares. And it's funny when you do Room for Squares, his first album, his debut album. I mean, it's incredible how good it is, and it's just his debut. I mean, obviously, like I said, he's probably been playing for a while at this point and kind of built up a fan base behind the scenes, you know, and, you know, it was kind of already had a lot of songs ready for this album. My guess is because every song like hits really great, in my opinion. But this album I would call folk pop, I think, is maybe the best term. Because I was trying to think, how do you describe this music? Because I love it's mostly acoustic guitar playing, though there are some, bass and electric guitars in the backgrounds, but it feels like the main instrument is the acoustic guitar, which I love. If you know me, I love musicians that play acoustic guitar. Like I love the folk rock style and even pop style that you get out there. And so yeah, this is mostly acoustic guitar based. And so anytime someone uses acoustic guitar, I always think folk music. Though I wouldn't say this is like folk music, but it's more poppier than folk music. So I don't know. I'm thinking like folk pop, or maybe it's just straight on pop. You can probably call it straight on pop music, maybe. Whatever. He's a singer-songwriter. I love that. I love singer-songwriters. This guy is what I would call like a triple threat musician. He's an incredible guitar player. The acoustic guitar playing is just so great on this. I mean, the strumming, the finger picking, everything just sounds amazing, I think, in my opinion. So I love his acoustic guitar playing. His songwriting, it's great. Like you listen to the lyric, like this is one of those albums where I listen to all the lyrics as he's saying them and go, oh wow, that was a great lyric, I don't do that with everybody. Some people, I don't really listen to the lyrics. I just listen to the music and go, wow, I love the music. I love the vocals, and stuff like that. But him, I think he's one of the best lyricists we've had in the last 20 years for sure. Anyways, and then he's also a really good singer. So, I mean, I love when you get someone like that again, that's a singer-songwriter style, great musician, great singer, and great songwriter. Anyways, and I think he has all three of those. And so for me, he's like the perfect artist. That's like the artist I love the most. One of the genres I love the most anyway. So yeah, it really hit with me anyways. But it's interesting that's this album. Then after this album, he kind of goes more blues rock in a way. He has a little more bluesier side to him and more electric guitar. Like Continuum, to me, was much different album than this, where it's much more electric guitar based and had more of maybe slightly blues, not super bluesy, but just a little bit bluesy there. And his guitar playing is just phenomenal on it. Like he's a really good, really one of the best guitar players I've ever heard. And so you listen to Continuum and you go, wow, his electric guitar playing, great. He's playing guitar solos. He's, doing all this stuff. And then you listen to this and it's like, man, his acoustic guitar playing is also phenomenal. And he reminds me of like a Neil Young type of, musician, where Neil Young is the same way. Where it's like, man, he can really rock it out on like, everybody knows this, Nowhere After the Gold Rush. He has some great rock songs on there. He can rock, he can play guitar solos, yeah. But then you get to like a song or an album like Harvest, which is almost more acoustic guitar based. And I go, man, I love his acoustic guitar playing. It's so good. And he even does like the harmonica and everything. And he has more of a folk style to him. So I'm like, yeah, I like Neil Young when he's rocking it. I love it when he's more of a folk singer. If I had to pick, I prefer Neil Young as a folk singer than as a rocker. And I feel the same way about John Mayer. Like, I do like it when he rocks it out sometimes, but I do prefer this style of this album where he's more acoustic guitar based and, more folk pop. That's probably my preferable of John Mayer. So it's like I've listened to some albums and I don't think they're nearly as good as this one. And he kind of went away from this style until last or 2 years ago, maybe. He came out with an album called Sob Rock, which I listened to because it came out. And I thought it was a really good album. And it felt more like this album, where it's more back to his original sound, which is this more acoustic, guitar, folk pop sound. So that's why I really like Sob Rock. I need to give that some more listens. That's definitely an album that would probably make it possibly on my next, 100 greatest albums list. And yeah. So I love that he does it. Anyway, so that's what makes this a really special album to me, is that he doesn't really do this type of album again for a while. That sounds like this. And again, there's so many great songs on here. Obviously, No Such Thing, I said. The acoustic guitar playing and he hit some high notes that are really great. And just the whole song itself seems to be about, and I was in high school, so it seemed like a song about, getting out of high school and entering the real world. He says, I want to run out the doors of my high school. I want to scream at the top of my lungs. Something about getting to the real world, finding out that the real world is a lie that we have to rise above. It's like, man, what a great line. And I feel that way after high school. You want to go out into the real world, and then you get in the real world and you're like, oh, this is not what I want it to be. Anyway, so it's a really well-written song. It's really catchy, great chorus. The second song is so great too. Why Georgia? Another great acoustic guitar playing, phenomenal singing. Yeah, it's really catchy. Love Why Georgia. Third song, My Stupid Mouth, another phenomenal song, one of my favorite on this album. So I mean, I would say the first four songs are just like some of the best songs I've heard some of my favorite John Mayer songs. My Stupid Mouth is not a big hit song, I think, but it's kind of funny, and it's about a song about as we all as guys, it happens to us all the time with our girlfriend, wife. We say something and then they get mad at us. And so then it's like, man, why did I even open my mouth? And we've all been there, where it's like, man, it's better just to not even say anything. Just, because if you say something, it just makes everything worse. And so I love this song because it's kind of funny in that way. But yeah, it's still got that, I guess, catchy pop sound to it, and I love just the line goes, my stupid mouth got me in trouble. Looks like the joke's on me. Yeah, it's great. And then I love at the very end, it ends like he strums the guitar and it sounds like it's the end of the song. It's like your normal ending to a song. You're like, oh, the song's over. No, it's a false ending. And he all of a sudden, there's a 2-3 second pause, and all of a sudden he comes back. One more thing. Why is it always my fault? And then he goes into another verse about, being frustrated with, why am I always getting in trouble, and then goes back into that chorus. So it was a fun way to end that song. Number 4, Your Body's a Wonderland, probably the biggest song on this album that's played the most, I feel like. And it's a great song. It's very romantic, one of the most romantic songs he's done. And I mean, gosh, what can you say? What is it about? It's about being with your loved one in bed, and doing things that you do in bed, and like how wonderful that is, and how wonderful it is to be with a woman. It's all about those things. So I definitely feel that, being married. Yeah, your body is a wonderland. Like, yes. It's very kind of steamy. It's romantic and steamy at the same time in a very interesting way. But really well written song, I think, and very catchy. Got some nice kind of beat to it with the electric guitars in there. But yeah, every song on here is great. Like, you get through those 4 songs, you go, wow. I remember listening to this just recently and being like, wow, those are just 4 fantastic songs. But surely it's going to dip off, and it's going to be like, next song's going to be like, it was okay, or it wasn't that great. But no, every song I get to, I'm like, wow, this song is good. The next song, wow, this song was really good. Like, and they're slightly different, but yet all have the same sound to them. And you just go, man, how can this guy make 14 really good songs? It's impossible, but he does it. Like, every song is good to great. That's why it's number 9 on my list, because I listen to this album, don't skip a song. Every song I'm just really, really enjoying. Even Neon, City Love, 83, which I was born in 1983, so I don't know if he's referring to the year, I think 1983. 3x5. Love Song for No One. Really, really great deep cut there. Really love that one. Back to You, I think, really good. Grand Doors, Not Myself is fantastic. Anyways, St. Patrick's Day, very end song. I mean, even the songs that I don't listen to as much, I still hear it and go, yeah, this is pretty good. Like, and then the other ones, I'm like, this is just fantastic. Some of the best music I've ever heard in my life. Yeah, so I'm just absolutely huge fan of all this music here. And of course, I haven't got really into all the details on the album. Like I said before, it came out 2001, debut album, absolutely incredible. 3 singles came off of this album. Like I said, No Such Thing was kind of the big one to me. It went number 13 in the U.S. Your Body's a Wonderland went number 18 in the U.S. And then Why Georgia went number 8 in the adult top 40. So those are kind of the 3 big ones that were on the radio quite a bit in the early 2000s at least. Overall, the album went number 8 in the U.S. It's kind of surprised it didn't go up higher, but it was top 10 album, debut album for him. And I think he took the world by storm, because I think he just got bigger and bigger with each album, and I feel like more popular and more well known and more all that. He did win a Grammy too, also from this album, which was Best Male Pop Vocal Performance for the song "Your Body's a Wonderland." So "Your Body is a Wonderland" won a Grammy for him as well, which I would say probably his biggest song on the album. I would say. Because of that, so yeah, 3 absolutely fantastic songs on a fantastic album. And so saying all that, I can get to my top 3 favorite songs on the album, which is so hard because they're all so great, especially like My Stupid Mouth. Man, that would make it in my top 3 on most albums, but there's so many good songs that it didn't quite make it in there. Like I said, I would also look at Love Song for No One and Not Myself are just really, really good songs that could make it on any list. But in fact, the 3 songs I have are the 3 big singles, which usually happens when I do these lists. They kind of coincide. They're good songs, and probably because I heard them on the radio a lot, I have a lot of nostalgia for these songs, but I think they're fantastic songs. And number 3, I went with Your Body's a Wonderland. Like I said, really, really nice, romantic, steamy song about being in bed with your loved one. But in, I think, a very respectful, romantic way, that really captures that. I would say it captures that feeling better than any song. Obviously, the big song maybe is Marvin Gaye's, that song. What's it called? Oh, Let's Get It On. Let's Get It On. Yeah, that's like the ultimate, like, let's get in bed song, let's get it on. But after that, I would put Your Body's Wonderland. It's a great song to catch that feeling of like, yes, I get those strong feelings when I'm in bed with my wife, and all that. Yeah. And knowing John Mayer, I get the feeling that this isn't about his wife. Call me crazy, but I'm just going to throw that out there, that he might have had marital affairs and not be married. I've heard things. But anyways, still a relevant song, I think, and just really catchy and all that. Anyways, number 2, I went with Why Georgia again. And this is the first 4 songs are like the 4 best songs on the albums. I mean, it's incredible listening and going, wow, these songs are just absolutely so great. And Why Georgia, the second song on the album, yeah, it's like, man, this is the second song. It's like, this is phenomenal. Again, love the acoustic guitar playing. There's a little more quicker picking in here at points, and I love how it starts out and it's just him and the acoustic guitar, and then he goes like one verse in, and then finally, like, it feels like the rest of the band comes in, the drums and like the bass and everything. And I love that because it kind of makes the sound fuller, and it kind of adds to the whole song and kind of progresses the song. But yeah, another great chorus here. And great vocals here. Yeah, so Why Georgia, great song. And then number 1, I went with the song I first heard from him. I still think it's absolutely one of my favorite songs from him, and that is No Such Thing. Again, I love the lyrics of this idea of like, it felt like it was written about, getting out of high school and getting into the real world and getting a job and everything, kind of that, that looking forward to going into the real world, getting out of high school and starting your life, and feeling free, this freedom feeling, I think he definitely captures that feeling in the song. It's, again, really catchy. I love, like I said, that chorus of, run through the halls of my high school, I'm gonna scream at and then he hits these really high notes at the top of my lungs, and he hits these like incredibly high notes, and I found out the real world's a lie that you have to rise above. I mean, again, phenomenal line, and the acoustic guitar playing so good, the strumming and everything. And he changes, like, in the verse to the chorus, the melody is just amazing. Like, I love the melodies that he's putting out, how he changes the what he's singing, through the song. Feels like he's not repeating himself. It's just absolutely fantastic songwriting and all that. So yeah, No Such Thing, absolutely amazing song. If you haven't heard it, definitely you gotta listen to that song. And I heard some people that say they're not John Mayer's fans because I guess he has a toxic, personal life. He's been through a lot of relationships, and he even dated Taylor Swift at one time. And so I heard people don't like him personally. I don't know really much about him personally. I can only talk about his music, and I think his music is just absolutely fantastic. Maybe some people feel like he's overdone, like his music is on the radio too much. I don't feel that way. Like, I can listen to him all the time. And it's the only album I have of his. I definitely want to do a deep dive at some point, listen to some more albums. Definitely want to get Continuum and Sob Rock. I think are also really good albums out of him, but definitely get more into John Mayer in the future. But this is definitely, if you want to get into John Mayer, this is a really good start. Start with his debut album, and you go, wow, this is his debut. Like, how does he go better than this? He can't. It's like, this is his peak in his first album. But anyways, that's my thoughts on this. Feel free to comment in the sections. I love to read your thoughts and reply to them and see what you think about John Mayer and this album. You might think it's too high on my list. I don't know. Maybe hopefully there's some fans out there that listen to his music well, I hope, like Briar. Hope maybe you've listened to his music. I don't know. Love to hear your thoughts. And yeah, so yeah, reply and everything. And just thank you for watching this video. Thank you for liking it. Thank you for commenting. I really appreciate that. And thank you to all my subscribers for supporting the channel. I appreciate you all. I hope you have a good day.